To create clear, well-structured sentences, you need a strong understanding of syntax, the building blocks of language. In this course, you'll learn about sentence parts such as subjects and predicates, and phrases and clauses. You'll find out about agreements between subjects and verbs, as well as between pronouns and antecedents. You'll also learn about how to avoid common writing errors, such as sentence fragments, comma splices, and run-on sentences. To be an effective business writer, you need a strong grasp of the nuts and bolts of how sentences are structured. A fundamental aspect of sentence structure is the use of subjects and predicates. Consider this sentence. The manager of the construction project approved the contract without reading it first. The simple subject of a sentence, in this case the manager, is typically a noun or pronoun that identifies the person or thing that carries out the action described by the verb. The complete subject includes this noun or pronoun, plus all the words that describe or modify it. The simple predicate of a sentence is the verb, the word identifying the action taken by the subject. The complete predicate includes the verb and any other words that describe it further. In some cases, a sentence doesn't identify a subject explicitly. In the command, "Come here," the subject "you" is implied. And sometimes, subject-verb order is inverted. This can happen in the case of questions, as well as with the words here and there. An object is another common sentence part. What's the object in this sentence? The manager wants the application form. It's the application form. Want is a transitive verb, which is a type of verb that requires an object to complete its meaning. The manager wants on its own wouldn't make much sense. It needs an object, which is a noun or pronoun that identifies who or what is affected by the action of the verb. Intransitive verbs, on the other hand, don't take objects. An example is, he arrived. The verb arrived doesn't require anything to follow it to complete its meaning. Now, objects. There are two types that can be used with transitive verbs. Direct objects identify who or what receives the action of the verb. For example, in the sentence, John opened the office door. The direct object is the office door. Then there are indirect objects, which identify to or for whom the action of the verb is performed. In the sentence, Julie gave David the book. The indirect object is David. Next, let's consider subject and object complements. In the sentence, Carol became an accountant. Carol is the subject, and the noun accountant provides more information about Carol. So this is the subject complement. A subject complement can also be an adjective or a pronoun. To connect the subject to the subject complement, you need a linking verb, such as be, become, seem, appear, and feel. An object complement is similar to a subject complement, except that it provides additional information about the direct object in a sentence. What do you think the object complement is in this sentence? The employees consider the new policy unfair. Additional information is being provided about the new policy, so the subject complement is unfair. The basic sentence parts can be combined and arranged in many different ways. Understanding the basic structures can help you write effective sentences. In business writing, your sentences need to move fluidly and clearly from one idea to the next, so they can be understood. Key to this is creating well-crafted phrases and clauses. So what exactly is a phrase? Well, it's a group of related words that lacks either a subject or a verb, or both. It acts as a single part of speech. For example, in the sentence, anticipating resources would be scarce in June, the manager requested additional contractors. Anticipating resources would be scarce in June has a verbal form but no subject, and it acts as an adjective in the sentence. It describes the manager. There are 3 types of phrase: prepositional, appositive, and verbal. As its name implies, a prepositional phrase begins with a preposition, such as at, over, in, or along. The preposition is followed by its object, usually a noun or pronoun, and its object's modifiers. In this case of, he walked along the busy corridor, busy modifies corridor. An appositive phrase provides additional information about a noun in a sentence. It follows immediately after a noun or noun phrase in order to define or further identify it. There are also 2 subtypes of appositive phrases: gerund and infinitive. A gerund phrase includes a verb ending in ing, as in exercising. An infinitive phrase starts with to, followed by a verb. The last type of phrase is the verbal phrase, which contains a verb form that does not serve as a verb in the sentence. There are 3 types of verbal phrases: participial, gerund, and infinitive. Participial phrases include either a past or present participle and any objects or modifiers. They always function as adjectives. Gerund phrases include the gerund, or verb ending in ing, and any objects or modifiers. A gerund phrase can also act as a subject or an object in a sentence. Infinitive phrases can function like a noun, adjective, or adverb in a sentence. On to clauses now. Do you know how they're different from phrases? Clauses have a subject and a verb, whereas phrases lack either a subject or a verb, or both. An independent clause, also known as a main clause, can stand alone as a full sentence. It can also be joined to another independent clause using a coordinating conjunction, such as and or but. A dependent or subordinate clause doesn't form a complete sentence, but depends on a main clause. Subordinating conjunctions like because, although, and after, or relative pronouns such as who, which, or that, usually introduce dependent clauses. Clauses and phrases are basic components you use to write sentences. They can be combined with other sentence parts to build more complex sentences to help you convey your meaning.